Hello, Feisty friends. Sarah Gross here, founder and CEO of Feisty Media. So before the podcast starts, I wanted to jump in and tell you about our brand new strength training club that is launching in the new year. Like so many of our offers, we created this one with you in mind because many of you have been asking for more guidance about what it means to lift heavy. We all know the advantages of being strong for longevity, bone density, body composition. We want to feel strong and capable, but it can be hard to know where to start. Or maybe some of you have been doing the same strength routine for months or years and are looking to switch it up for faster gains. If that sounds like you, I highly recommend the Feisty Strong Barbell Club, which is a 12-week community strength training program designed for women who want real coaching, expert barbell programming, and the confidence to take up the space you deserve in the barbell section of the gym. It includes 3 strength workouts per week, optional HIIT workouts as finishers, and a community of supportive women to share the journey with. You will get monthly coaching calls, weekly form reviews on your lifting technique, guest experts, and thoughtful guidance from Feisty head strength coach Cassie Neiman. You'll learn the foundational barbell lifts, gain confidence under the bar, and train with a plan that meets you where you are at. So if you're barbell curious or looking for a new routine or a reason to get started with strength training, this is the program for you. To learn more about the Feisty Strong Barbell Club, just click the link in the show notes. 2026 is the year we get strong together.
All right, welcome, Feisties. It's Kelly. I'm here with Joanne. We almost got Katie back this week, but fingers crossed, Katie is coming back next week, we hope.
Yeah, we're going to send her a restraining order. We're going to send her a summons and say, Katie, you will come back to the podcast. All the short course distance athletes are missing out because we really aren't covering anything to do with WTS.
Oh, that's true. She super tried Toronto this past weekend, and she could probably explain. There was like a brand new winner, and she could probably tell us all about like who did what and how good it was. It did look cool. That was the first race in Toronto.
I think so.
Like
and
the
why
first
did Johnny
super tri,
Brandon
yeah.
get disqualified?
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't either. We should probably have done some prep before we started talking.
Well, I was just saying, I had no idea why Johnny Brownlee got disqualified. But I will say the super tri races are really fun to watch, though. I do think they're like super exciting. It makes me nervous, though. Have you ever seen one in person?
No.
They go so fast and so close to the barricades that it makes me nervous. It makes me stressed for them. Yeah.
Why? Just in terms of maybe having an accident, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all so fast, though.
True.
Yeah, I mean, even look at the Olympics, like it's just so fast, and then they're all on top of each other, and the cobbles in Paris, and it's wet, and it's like, oh my god, so scary.
I know. That's true. So it's not like hot. I actually at one point, Joanne, I did really want to do a super tri race when they were like testing out, like they were going to do some age group ones, and then the pandemic hit and they didn't do them. I really wanted to try it, but it does look kind of terrifying.
Did you do a T100 race? Have you done a T100?
No, because the one here in San Francisco is Alcatraz, not like the age group race is an Alcatraz race, not a 100K. Okay. Yeah.
Because T100 London is coming up now as well.
Yeah, in like 2 weeks. Are you going to do it?
No. I don't know where I am. I think I'm in Switzerland. I don't know where. I don't know where I want. I want a 2-week break, right? And everyone is like, oh, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going home. What are you doing for your holidays? I'm going home. And I am not packing a bag. And I am certainly not decanting my shampoo and conditioner into a little 100ml bottle that will fit in a 10 kg bag that I can bring and hold all. I'm not doing anything. Although I did get roped into hosting an event this morning. So we have like this membership thing in Ireland. It's run by a guy called Rob Hartnett. It's called Sport for Business. And every so often he hosts events outside of Dublin. So Galway was the turn. He always comes to Galway around this time. So he messaged me and he said, Joanne, I've been on holidays thinking about the format, about what I'll do for this. And we have a comedian in Ireland who hosts a TV show, and it's blind interviews. So he has no in-ear, he has no clue who these guests are. And sometimes they're famous people and he'll know them. And sometimes they're just random people who are doing really interesting things. So he said to me, the comedian is called Tommy Tiernan. I'm sure some of the listeners will have been to a Tommy Tiernan show in the States. Anyway, he said to me, I'm thinking of running this like a Tommy Tiernan blind interviews. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. And he goes, will you co-host it? And I said, what? And he said, will you co-host it? And I said, okay, yeah, but this is going to be really weird because if there's people in the room that I know that I end up interviewing, I said, it's going to be really bad if I don't know anything about them. And I had no research done. So we had this whole discussion when we were finished. We were chatting about my job and in general, just how different it is.
Right.
I turned up today with no questions, no clue who I was interviewing because we were picking names out of a hat. And I really enjoyed it. And I was like, this is so far out of my comfort zone, not knowing anything about the people that I'm interviewing. And there was only one person I knew well that I interviewed, and we both work with the same organization. So it was quite interesting. But talk about being out of my comfort zone. But yeah, I'm on my holidays, and I was joking with them saying, yeah, I came in today to like meet everybody and chat to people I didn't expect to be put to work. Yeah.
So you're taking your holidays right now because you need a break. I'm about to go off for like a week here. Everybody needs a break before it starts gearing back up.
Yeah. So even though I've been at home, I was in Leeds, which we'll get to for the inaugural Ironman Leeds. So even though I've been at home the last 5 weeks, I've worked every single weekend. And some, except for one weekend off, I think like 5 weeks ago. And it's been different events on a Saturday to a Sunday, or it's been like a midweek event and then another event at the weekend. So it's been just full on. So now I'm gearing up for the Swiss Epic in Switzerland, in Davos, Davos and La Punt, which is fabulous. So it's an event owned by Ironman, but it's a 5-stage mountain bike race. It's stunning. Pro, UCI Pro men and women, and then age group athletes who just want to conquer the Swiss Epic, and it's a qualifier for the Cape Epic in South Africa. Right. So it's fabulous. That's my second year doing that. And then I go straight to Ironman 70.3 Vichy. So I've never been to that part of France. So I'm doing that, and then I'm home for a week. And then it all kicks off then. I am, where am I then? 70.3 Belgium, straight into Ironman World Championship in Nice, straight into Ironman Wales, straight into the International World Oyster Opening Champion.
Oh, naturally. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So and then I have a week off, and then I fly to Kona. And then I'm in Kona for 2 weeks, and I think I have 2 weeks at home, and then it's Marbella. And then it's nearly Christmas, and I finish work on the 6th of December. And it's only the end of July. What date is it? It's the 30th of July, and I can't wait for the 6th of December.
I will say, you were texting me this week about Kona plans. A couple other people. I feel like everyone suddenly like turned their calendars and realized like August is the end of this week. And all of a sudden I'm getting all these messages about like, what are Kona plans? Are you going? What are we doing? Where are we going to be posting up? Feisty does have a pretty cool setup plan. Just got to like tease that.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little like spot right in downtown.
I can't wait to hear all about it. Hopefully I'll have time to get involved with something.
I know. Yeah, we're gonna wrangle you after. We're gonna like grab you on the side of the street
on the way to Huggles, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting.
But it is, yes. I feel like it's all happening. And we were gonna have like a quick little catch up here today because we do have a very interesting interview with Mel McQuaid that you chatted with her. But I wanted to ask you first about, I mean, Leeds is kind of like being at home for you, kind of not. But how was the inaugural Ironman Leeds?
So can I just tell you, I live on the west coast of Ireland, right?
It's kind of the same.
It's a different country. Canada and America have its own country, Kelly. So one, I live on the west coast of Ireland. And so to travel to the UK, the ideal airport is in Dublin, which is 3 hours away from me. And then I have to wait in the airport, get on a flight, and then I hire a car and I get to our race venue. That's all fine in an ideal world when there's no delays. But a trip that should really only be, it's only across the water, it's across the Irish Sea. Right. It should be like 5 hours. It takes 15 hours. It's bananas. It's just so annoying. Anyway, but it's fabulous. So if I win the Euro Millions and the lotto, if I became a billionaire, I think I would probably buy a helicopter or a corporate jet. Or maybe try and rent out Taylor Swift's corporate jet. Would be kind of nice.
Okay.
Just every time I need
just so you could fly around to all of your races.
Yeah, but actually, I really do think that Ironman should have. I know it's not economically viable or it's not environmentally friendly, but Ironman should have private jets for the announcers to travel between them. Now there
There you go. This is great.
I know,
This is your
yeah, absolutely. So anyway, aside from that, Ironman Leeds was a beast, is the only way to describe it. So it's 2 years in the making to get from where they were, where they thought about having a race in Leeds, having a full distance race in Leeds, to actually getting to race day. So obviously Leeds is well known on the map because of the Brownlee brothers. You've got the Brownlee, is a Brownlee Centre. There's obviously like a centre of excellence. And then you've obviously had the WTS races in Leeds as well. So it's well known in the triathlon world, but never had an Ironman. And so what they did was there's a park that's bigger. I'll let you know. It's bigger than Central Park in New York. It is 700 acres of beautiful landscape, trees, lakes, everything. It's absolutely stunning, but it is so hilly. It is so hilly. If you think about the run up Palani or is it Kuakini? I always get confused. Which one is up? Which one goes up?
Palani.
Palani, that's it, yeah. So that's not a hill. Leeds is hilly. So there was 4,500 meters of elevation on the bike course of 180.
Oh, really?
And
wow.
So did I say 2,500? Did I say 2,500? Yeah. 2,500 elevation on the bike meters, and then 450 on the run course in the marathon. The only part of the course that was flat was the swim. In a beautiful lake in Roundhay Park. And you know what the beauty of the event as well actually was? That everything was all in the one place. So if you think about Kona, you've got the beach there, or you've got Diggle Beach. So you've got your swim area, one single transition area, and everything happens in this one centre. So this was the same with Leeds as well. So there's no messing with logistics or anything like that. And the setup was absolutely beautiful. The finish line, when you looked through the finish line, as say the announcer looking up the finish line was downhill, but the backdrop was a beautiful mansion. So it was actually a stunning finish line, and it was a downhill run for the athletes as well. But the spectator support was insane. So yeah, it was so good. So this is now, Ironman UK Bolton finished up in 2022. So it was a 2023. So it was a 70.3 last year, that's 24, and a 70.3 this year. And so Leeds then became the full distance race in England, and we still have Ironman Wales in Tenby in Wales. But it was phenomenal. As a race, I would say it is one of the toughest potentially on the circuit. I think it's going to be really, really popular with the athletes. Like a lot of people that I spoke to afterwards were just blown away by the beauty of the place. There's one big, huge climb, Black Line Hill, and in Bolton, we have these guys called the Sheep House Lane Wrestlers. So they dress up in all this mad gear, like you don't know who they are. Nobody knows who they are. They dress up, they cover their faces. They're like in American colors, UK colors, anything and everything, like superheroes with capes. And they're running up and down the hardest part of the hill. They have music blaring and everything. So they decided to come to Leeds, to Black Line Hill. And oh my God, like they were absolutely amazing. So there is a section on the climb, which is very, very difficult. So you swim your 2.8 kilometers. I'm doing it all in kilometers now because that's my money.
I know, it's very easy. I got to tell you, yeah.
It's very hard. I did 2.4 miles.
Yeah.
Swim.
Yeah. But I did a race somewhere in Europe. I don't remember once, but I had like read it and it said, 1,000 of climbing. And I was like, 1,000 feet of climbing is not bad. And then I realized it was meters. And I was like, God damn it.
So you've got your 2.4 mile swim, then 112 miles on the bike. So they cycle from the park to the start of a 3-loop bike course. So 55-mile loop 3 times, and they have to do that hill 3 times. And then they come back onto the park for the run course. But the spectator support, like, I don't know if you've seen any of the posts, the Instagram cover. Oh my gosh, it was just amazing. So Sam Laidlow had to validate his slot for Nice. And as Paul Kay says, he wasn't here to just validate, he was here to dominate. So he led from swim to the finish. Really dominating performance. Very, very good. And then Nathan Gourbar, representing France, came second. So I think that might have been his best ever Ironman distance result. I think he was maybe 10 or 15 minutes behind Sam. And Harry Palmer then, who won Swansea, was third, and Kieran Linders, who was third in Swansea, finished in fourth. And then, but the age groupers, so they were the pros, men pro only. And then the age groupers, so the men's winner was Tom Bill, incredible performance. So good. And his little, I think she's 4, was on the finish line. His daughter was waiting on the finish line with a Leeds flag and his medal. And then a big breakthrough performance as well for Adele Martin, who won the women's amateur race. And the girls didn't have a clue that they had podiumed. So the Adele, Tori, and the third lady, I'm after forgetting her name, but when they came across the line, Adele obviously knew that she had won because the tape was there for her. But then when Tori came down the finish, I was like, you finished in second. She was like, what? Like, it was just amazing. And then obviously a qualifier for the boys for Nice and for the women for Kona. So great excitement with those final slots for the event.
Yeah, because we're getting down to it. I don't think there's only like, there's like 2 more weeks left.
So Copenhagen and Kalmar are on the same weekend, and they are the last qualifying race.
Oh, and I was right though. They're also qualifiers for next year.
Yes. That, yeah. So I don't know how that works though, because
Well, I think basically there are slots for both, and so when you come in second or whatever, you can take either or both.
You can take both, but one will be the old system and one will be the new system.
Yes. So it's going to be very confusing for the announcers.
I think it's going to be more confusing for the athletes.
So that too.
Yeah. So if you're female, we always do the female slots first. The female slots will be for Kona 2025, and then they'll do probably the men's slots for Nice, and then they'll go back and do the Kona slots for the boys and the girls for 2026.
Yes.
Yeah. Good race to do to qualify for both World Championships in one fell swoop.
There you go. Right? That's like cost effective. Getting your bang for your buck.
And then you have to make sure you have enough money on your credit card to pay for 2 Kona entries, maybe 2.
Oh, I'm glad they take credit card now. There was a period where you like had to have cash. I don't know, like. Yeah. I remember like you had to like have cash in hand, and you were like, at least here in the US, and it was a whole thing.
No, I don't think so. No. So so that was Leeds. So that was really cool.
So it's good. Yeah. Okay, awesome.
So it's definitely very, and there was a lot of. So the USA was one of the top 5 nations as well. So there's a lot of athletes came from the States to race it. It's a very easily accessible race for people traveling into London or Manchester internationally, then and then maybe drive or get the train down to Leeds, and then it's an easy car hire. And everything's in the one place. It's so good.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of like East Coast of the US to Europe is like a very easy. A lot of people go back and forth for sure.
And it's not even as far as Europe, because you're just a little hop across from Ireland.
Just a little hop.
Just a little hop 15 hours later.
Just fine. It wasn't broadcast, and neither was Boise 70.3 because I think the broadcast crew also needed a break. Or like I think they were like they have to space out their broadcasting because then we're like you just said, there's a whole bunch of races right after this. Boise, Paula won.
Yeah.
Paula Findlay, which is great to see. Jodie Stimpson was second, or was she third?
I think she was third.
She was third. Why am I losing? Danielle Lewis. I was like, why am I losing? I was like losing the second person's name. Anyway, and I know the two of them have been training together in Boise for a while.
Where is Boise?
Idaho.
Okay.
Does that mean anything? You're like, no.
You know the way people's geography of Ireland is like England? That's kind of like, the States.
It's Western US, but not like all the way to the coast. It's like the Western US in the middle. Yeah. But I think people are excited. There are a bunch of new races in the US. Like that one came back after it was gone for like almost a decade. And then there's a new one they just announced in Omaha, Nebraska, which is also in the middle.
Omaha.
Right. And then there's a new one they announced in Texas. So I think they are trying to add some more US races again, because we lost a lot of races for a little while there, which is cool. We all like out here in California, we've lost like all our 70.3s. Not all of them. We have Oceanside, but we lost like all the ones, we lost Santa Cruz and Morro Bay and Vineman. So hopefully we get.
Were they Ironman races or were they
non-branded?
Oh, they were Ironman races.
They were.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, hopefully there'll be a surge.
Yeah. Now that everyone says everything's growing, Joanne. So now we should see more races, more events, the whole thing. The other thing though, they're also going to do a 70.3 in Ruidoso, New Mexico, which is this Ruidoso. It's like in New Mexico. It's in this valley. But it's also where Xterra World Champs are going to be next year. Oh. So they're trying to, how like everything was in St. George for a little while. I think they're trying to be like the new
hub
destination. Yeah. So it's supposed to be super, super pretty. It got heavily flooded a few weeks ago. So hopefully they're able to like rebuild everything.
And speaking of flooding, we woke up this morning to
a tsunami
warnings for Hawaii. And what happened there?
Apparently there was a massive earthquake off of Russia last night. Whenever you guys listen to this on Friday, it was Tuesday. And so, it's big tsunami warnings in Hawaii, bigger in Hawaii and north of where I live on the coast. Here it wasn't bad. It's just like waves. But
I think they got downgraded though then to just an advisory maybe at some point.
Yeah. It's not super bad. But it was, I think in Hawaii you do have to be really, really careful because it can be super. They were trying to clear all the beachgoers off the beach yesterday evening before I went to bed. They're like going around with hordes and being like, get off the beach. So,
oh my gosh. That's not good.
No. They have a whole like warning system in Hawaii, but people are just ignoring it and still like sunbathing. Let me tell you guys, when we are in Kona, if those you get off the beach, okay?
You run to Walmart, apparently, somewhere. You run up the hill,
just go up.
Walmart. But then if there's a volcano, there's another route to get out. My mum was telling me today that she had noticed it when she was there a few years ago, that there's like a volcano route and a tsunami route.
That's right.
It's kind of scary. We won't worry about it.
We won't worry about it. It's fine.
We're just going to go to Kona and have loads of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do have a great interview today with Mel McQuaid. You talked to her for a long time. We wanted to talk to her because, Mel's awesome. She did Kona as a pro for the first time at like the age of 50, which is crazy. But she already had been like a multi-time Xterra world champ. So she also talked to us a little bit about Xterra, which I've been trying to talk myself up, Joanne, into like getting like back into like mountain biking more. I'm like, you can do it, Kelly. Come on.
No, I don't know. I think we're kind of scared though.
Okay.
I'm kind of scared. But the way that Mel describes it, because I think I did ask her and the interview was like a week or two ago. So I think I did ask her, like, did she get scared? I suppose I was thinking more of like downhill mountain biking.
Right.
So you're at the top of a really big steep hill and you have to navigate all the trees and the branches and the trails and everything. And I was like, oh my God, I'd be so scared. But it's not really, no. And she said like, that people get off there. It's not like a normal triathlon. I'm going to call Ironman normal triathlon, even though it's not that normal because, we're all crazy because we do Ironman. Or at least that's what people who don't do triathlon think.
Sure.
But my sense was that it's actually very suitable to anybody who has an aspiration to do something out of their comfort zone, that it's very doable and you can get off your bike and you can walk up a hill or you can cycle, you can walk down a hill. And that it's a fabulous community of people as well, no more than our own specific triathlon community, that Xterra crew, I think she found that she was very fortunate to fall in with them when things didn't work out for the Olympics back in Sydney in 2000.
For sure. Yeah, no, I will say, I do think people think it's like jumping off cliffs and it is not.
No.
It's like designed to be like doable. It's like mountain bike trails. And I've done one, and yes, I definitely like got off. And because I'm like a good swimmer, like a lot of people were passing me, you know what I mean, on the triathlon bike trail. So I was having to stop and walk, and they were all like, "It's okay."
Like, I wonder, is it like a lot of single trail track as well? Like, unlike being on a roadway where you,
I think it depends.
Yeah. So I think there's that piece of it as well. So if you're a fast biker, you probably might be frustrated about being on a single track and be behind maybe somebody who's a good swimmer but not as fast a biker. But then it also meant that if you were a slower biker, you weren't under pressure because there's a line of you trying to get up the mountain and then the fun happens when you go downhill. But it was really interesting to talk to her and about her Kona experience coming into it as a rookie pro at the age of 50, which was hard to believe that she'd never actually raced the Ironman World Championships.
Joanne, there used to not be that many women. It used to be really hard. I'm kidding.
Let's not go back there now, Kelly. We're now 2025. We're moving forward.
I do remember talking to Mel, though, in Kona 2 years ago, whatever, when she was her first one. And she was like, people were asking her like questions, like, oh, should I do this? And she's like, I don't know. I've never been here before. So.
But she was really lovely and really bubbly. And I actually could see her as being such a great coach as well,
right.
with Mel Rad coaching. And I thought she was very pragmatic and she had a lot of great advice to give to people. Like, even though I'd never think about going to Xterra, I think I probably would give it a go. I got the opportunity maybe if it was local here somewhere. I'd have to improve my bike handling skills. And that's the other thing as well. You know, when you're racing in Kona, you know, your bike handling skills don't need to be that great. Or you're racing in Texas, like flat courses. When you're racing, and I can't speak for any of the other races in the US because I don't really know the courses other than Arizona and California. But when you're racing in Europe and you're racing in the UK, you need to have pretty good bike handling skills. You need to be able to corner, you need to be able to descend, you need to be able to climb, you need to be able to use your gears, because you're not on flat courses and you're going to try and have to take advantage of an inner cut on an uphill or an outer cut on a downhill, or like, and be fluid with your bike. And I think that maybe the mountain biking crossover helps an awful lot with those bike handling skills that really a lot of people don't have as triathletes, because we do all our training on a turbo trainer. We're on
or Zwift. No, I think this is like Flora Duffy has talked about how it helped a lot with her Olympic aspirations, right? Like the skills. And then I actually spoke with the girl who's the current like 3-time Xterra world champ, and she's moved over to 70.3 racing, Solène. We have that interview next week, and she's talked about like, obviously now it's like staying in a TT position is hard, but
yeah, interesting. Yeah, but it's cool. Yeah. So the other key thing there, I suppose, really was away from the Xterra piece is, you know, racing and training as we get older.
Right.
You know, so this.
How does that feel, Joanne, as we get older? How is racing and training?
I'm still only 21.
Okay.
Look at that for youthful skin. But I mean, I think, you know, our bodies change as we get older. So never mind the fact that we're women and our hormones are raging. Sure. But aside from that, like our bodies are aging and we need to rest and recover and we need to look after them. And things we used to do in our 20s and our 30s and even our early 40s are very different to how we recover and should be treating ourselves as we move into like Sniper Alley, which is the 50s kind of age group upwards, you know. So it was really interesting how she talked about that as well, from what I recall, about minding yourself, but then also knowing your body as you get older, even though navigating choppy waters of menopausal hormones are not good.
Sure. That's, obviously the menopause and perimenopause is like a whole nother discussion. But yeah, even just, I think a lot of people talk about like the recovery is hard. And I think of 10 years ago, and I would have had a few too many drinks the night before, and I still got to do my hard. Right. And I would still got to do my super hard workout, and I would be like kind of on the verge of vomiting, but I'd be like, oh, it's fine. And now it's like, if I had too many drinks, I just would be like not able to do the hard workout. So now I'm like, I have to like stay hydrated and fueled and sleep enough.
Yeah, but it's funny because like, so we had our final Galway Tri Club aquathon on Tuesday night. So it was an 850 swim in the river and it was going to be a 5.5k run. And up until I packed my bag. I had a meeting at 4:00 and I packed my bag here before I left. Went to the meeting and I got home at about 10 to 6. And I was like, I actually don't think I can do this race. I literally hit the wall with the fatigue from the weekend. And 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, I'd have gone, I'll be grand. I'll be fine. I won't pull anything. I won't hurt myself. But I'd actually hurt my shoulder lifting a barrier. For some reason, I lifted a barrier. It was quite heavy and I lifted it and I just jerked something that was a bit sore anyway. And I was like, I can't take a risk of swimming 900 meters because I'll go off course, or 1,000 meters. I won't swim in a straight line. 1,000 meters of my poor rotator cuff and then maybe pulling my calf because I'm tired. So I was like, no, it's not. For the sake of a club, I'm not going to risk it for a biscuit and be injured for another 5 weeks.
Oh, man.
But I wouldn't have made that decision.
Are you getting smarter? Or are you getting more cautious? What do you think?
See, I don't know really, because it's the races in Galway this week, the horse racing. So it's a massive festival. So it's very rare that I would be at home at any night of race week. And I'm here with you at almost 9 p.m. and I haven't put a bet in a horse and I haven't put on a fancy dress and I've worked today already, which is very unlike me. So maybe I'm just getting more sensible in my old age. But if you saw me on the finish line in Leeds at maybe, 11 o'clock at night and you're doing whatever it takes to keep everybody entertained, you'd have said Joanne has lost the plot. She's definitely not getting older.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a solid wrap up here, Joanne, and a transition to the Mel interview, and I got nothing. I'm like, well, Joanne's lost the plot.
Yeah, lost the plot. Let's talk to Mel.
All right, well, we have this interview from Mel, and then we will be back next week. Knock on something that Katie comes and joins us.
Hey Feisties, Sarah Gross here. We are so excited to be back with you here on our new, shiny, feisty triathlon podcast. Thank you for listening. I am so glad you're here. I want to tell you about one of the Feisty team's favorite recovery products, Prevenex's Neurify Plus. I use the chocolate flavor myself every day to support my strength training. At Feisty, we only support brands that our team uses and products that deliver results we have seen for ourselves. Prevenex's Neurify Plus is one of the best tasting plant-based and vegan shakes I've tried, and trust me, I've tried a lot. It contains balanced protein, carbs, and fat with comprehensive, high-quality micronutrients to help fuel your health. It also contains probiotics and digestive enzymes, so it's super easy to digest and doesn't give you that bloaty, gassy kind of effect that other protein products can produce. Unlike most supplement brands, Prevenex tests everything with pharmaceutical-grade precision, and they also offer a 100% money-back guarantee. So try Neurify Plus or any Prevenex product today, and you get 15% off your first order with the code FEISTYTRY at Prevenex.com. That's FEISTYTRY for 15% off at Prevenex.com. The link will be, as always, in the show notes. Regular listeners of Feisty podcasts will not be surprised to learn that for decades, running shoes have been researched, tested, and designed for men. Brands have relied on the shrink it and pink it approach to sell male shoes to female customers. But women's feet differ from men's in numerous ways. We have increased toe splay, higher arches, a more narrow heel, a lower ankle bone, upward angled toenails, and a rounded instep that is smaller in circumference. And because of all those differences, that is why we need Xterras. Xterras has unlocked the science behind women's biomechanics through dedicated research and creates running shoes specifically designed for women. So that means a lower heel collar to reduce rubbing on women's ankle bones, plate design to provide heel stability and to decelerate foot impact, rounded instep creating a snug fit through the middle to match the curvature of a woman's foot. Every feature is designed to give you more power and less problems. Breathability that lets your feet breathe easily mile after mile, plus fast-drying tech that doesn't allow sweat to slow you down, adaptive stretch that molds to your foot like it was made just for you. I personally have been running in Xterras for over 2 years, and from the first time I tried them, I knew that there was something different. They really felt like they were made for me. The shoes are super light but provide good cushioning, and they really support my very high arches. I honestly didn't think I would notice the difference after running for so many years in male model shoes, but I really did. So try Xterras for yourself today. Go to Xterras.com and use the code STAYFEISTY for 20% off. That is Stay Feisty for 20% off at Xterras.com. The link will, as always, be in the show notes.
Melanie McQuaid, welcome to our Feisty Triathlon podcast. We are delighted to be chatting with you this evening, this afternoon, this morning. What time was it where you
Or this
are?
morning. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So Mel, where are you at the moment? I'm in Ireland and it is just coming up to 7:30 at night on a Monday evening. So where are you and what are you at today?
Okay, well, we're on to starting Monday here in Victoria, BC on, on the sunny west coast of Canada, like pretty much as far west as you can go. You dive in the water, you swim for about, I don't know, I think it's maybe like 25K, and then you get onto Vancouver Island, and I'm just on the southern tip of Vancouver Island.
Oh, wow. So you are on the most western part of Canada and I'm on the most western part of Ireland. So we're like miles away from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm actually like where we are is actually south of most of the Canadian border. So I'm actually closer to Seattle than most people would actually expect. We're pretty far south.
Okay, well, I will admit that my geography of all of that area is not very good. I know Ireland well, but I don't know the rest of the world well. But a beautiful place, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a gem, and don't tell anybody else about it.
Okay, no problem. So you were swimming this morning, is that right?
Yeah, I actually I swim with a group that has formed in Victoria. That's designed to bring together a lot of young ITU athletes. And so there's a really good program with a variety of coaches put together by 94 Forward, which is a group tasked with bringing sport and athletes to the city. And they've created basically like a triathlon center in town. And as part of that, they kind of have invited some athletes that are professional from other disciplines other than the ITU discipline. And so they've got me, which is pretty crazy. Me and a bunch of like 18 to 20, maybe 5-year-olds, duking it out in the pool every morning. It's really great for me. And I try my best to like bring like a level head and a good attitude that they can see that, well, realistically, they have a lot of time.
Yeah. And of the 3 disciplines, which is your favorite, swim, bike, or run?
Honestly, I think it's probably the running. It's the most challenging for me to get good at, but I really I don't really have a favorite. There's nothing that I don't like anymore. I'm just actually having fun, and I really enjoy just the training process and learning and improving.
So now, Mel, you've been in the sport for a long time. We look back to like the 2000s, you were involved in the sport back then, but you've had such a varied career in endurance sport. What has fueled that passion for so many years?
Well, definitely. I mean, that's a great question. I ask myself that all the time. So first off, I just really enjoy learning things. Like I actually really enjoyed school and I like learning things, and I look at coaching and training as an experiment, right? So it's like you have an idea, I'm going to try this approach. You come up with a plan for that approach, and then you just see what the results of that plan are. And then in the process, you learn something. And I think that whole thing of like setting a goal of improvement or like a quality that you want to get better at, and then chasing after that improvement is really captivating for me. So I enjoy it personally from an athlete perspective, and I really enjoy the challenge of figuring that out for other athletes. So I don't know. I'm just like a training.
Well, I was going to ask you, were you nerdy in school? Did you love numbers, or did you really?
Yeah. When I was in school, I skipped a grade, and I ended up in like a program called International Baccalaureate, which was, like for kids that really like to study extra hard and do tests against people worldwide. So I ended up in university a year early, and then when I was in university, I really thought I was going to be a doctor. And so I thought I was doing pre-med. But early on, I went and did an indoor triathlon when I was on a work term in Chicago during my biochem and chemistry degree. And I did this triathlon, and then I came back hell-bent on being a triathlete. But then I got actually like recruited to the provincial cycling team to go to this junior games. And as a result of that, it launched a career for me, which ultimately ended up in mountain biking, but a cycling career first. So then it didn't take long. I made the national team my second year. And then I was like, okay, I wanted to be a professional athlete because I could see that option with athletes like Alison Sider and Leslie Tomlinson, like from British Columbia, actually achieving that. And so medicine kind of went onto the back burner, and a professional athlete life came onto the front burner.
That's fascinating.
It's pretty crazy when you look back at that, because I know that my parents were kind of like, you're going to do what as a job?
You've gone from being wanting to be a doctor to suddenly want to ride your bike full time.
Yeah, and my dad actually, I think my dad reminded me, like even just recently, he's like, remember that time I paid for the MCAT and you didn't show up? Like I just didn't go, and I don't know. I really appreciate that they supported this whole thing right from the start, because I can see how it would have seemed like a pretty harebrained scheme at the time.
But you must be so driven, Mel, because to be in the sport for as long as you're in it, to want to be a doctor, which is a difficult profession to get into, never mind the schooling and the college that you need to do, but then to look at the career that you've had, where does your drive for success come from on and off the field of play?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think that's a great question. I think sometimes it's belief. Like, I think that's the most important thing is just this, like having that seed of belief that it's an option or that it's possible. And so some of that is just seeing the opportunity has existed for somebody else. So sometimes just that somebody is like modeling that for you. And so you're like, hey, yeah, I'd really like that. And I know early on with the mountain biking, that was certainly the case with Olympians like Alison Sider that were very close. I actually was on the national team with her. And so I could see here's a female professional athlete. And so that I just believed that I could do that too. And then the second part of that is that I'm kind of like a honey badger in terms of like my refusal to give up on things. So even when things were not looking good, I would always keep a plan B. So I had my degree. I did finish my degree. I've always had sort of other options. Okay, it's like the if then flow chart always existed. And I'm definitely somebody who always needed to have a certain amount of security in terms of like, if this doesn't work out, I'm not going to be, the second option isn't terrible. It's definitely not my first option, but I had something where it wasn't so scary to go all in because I wasn't really all in. And I think that helped me to just constantly like ride out the roller coaster that like 31 years as a professional athlete represents.
Because it is a roller coaster.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's not like there was years where I just couldn't imagine that it was ever going to work out for sure. So, yeah, so there is definitely like some really hard times in there. And I think some of that too, like there were inflection points in terms like, do I want to continue this way or do I want to go that way? And I think the end of my mountain biking, like my career with the national team for mountain biking, because actually I like ended up enjoying like a lot more success as a professional mountain biker when I switched to Xterra and the option and autonomy of being a professional athlete versus like, under the national team program and an NSO sort of framework. That was, there was definitely an inflection point there that made me, like a lot better athlete than I was. Like I know that for me, I flourished like when I came out of that system and went into my own sort of program. And not every athlete is like that. And so I think that there's a lot of personality things that some athletes are going to be really great. Let's say like in ITU traveling and racing with the national team for that. And then some are going to be just like, they're going to come out of that system and absolutely like bloom because like the freedom to determine your own race schedule and all the rest of it is really good for them. And I know that was really good.
Yeah, because I imagine if you had made the Olympic team back for Sydney 2000, your career could potentially gone in a completely different direction. So when you look back at it now, was it a blessing in disguise, do you think, not to have made the team? Did it shape your multi-sport career?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that all the things that I've learned from like not being successful or having like some sort of major incident injury have been at the time like pretty challenging to wrap my head around emotionally, but just the amount of growth and things that I've learned from those sort of experiences were life-changing, really. And so I know that not going to the Olympics in 2000 meant that I ended up like racing on the road. Like the Olympics in Sydney were a bit early. And so that meant that we knew early who the team was going to be. So I knew early I wasn't going to be on the team. So there's really no point in me mountain biking that year. And so I went and raced on the road. And that gave me an opportunity to like, try like the road cycling scene. And I picked up contracts to go race as I forget what it's called, like a guest rider on other professional teams to like travel around and, like be on the road scene. Cause that's what I thought I was going to do next. So I made the the road national team at nationals that year, and went to the Road Worlds in France and got to see, okay, this is at the time that was one of the pinnacle races for road racing. Had a pretty tough start position on the grid because I was probably last picked to the team, and crashed like behind a huge group of, like, the whole group went down and I was behind that. And so crashed within like minutes of the start and was out the back immediately. So it wasn't like a dream race for me. But then before I had gone to that race, I had been invited by Xterra to go to Hawaii, and they described it as like, have an end of the season vacation and come do our race. We've got a hotel for you. And a bunch of us from the national mountain bike team went to Maui that year to race Xterra Worlds. And because I was going to Road Worlds, there wasn't like a lot of time to swim or run. There was just time to get to Maui. And so I did that. And that year, and I had like 2 years of swimming in high school. So I'm not like a non-swimmer, but I'm not a great swimmer. And then I had like some time in high school where I, dabbled in everything. So I did run some track in high school. I tried to run track in university, but kept getting injured. And that's how I ended up as a cyclist. Anyway, so I go to this race, like relatively untrained, and like annihilated everybody on the bike. Got an 8-minute lead coming off the bike because I was quite fit I'd just come from Worlds. But I still got caught. In 10K, I had 8 minutes and I still couldn't hold them off. But anyways, but the result of that was a podium finish. And I talk about this a lot because I don't know that Xterra gets as much credit as they deserve for this. Like the men and the women got an equal prize purse. And at that time in 2000, coming from cycling in particular, that was like the most amazing thing that I ever experienced. It was the most amount of money I'd ever made in my life, probably like cumulative for years. And it was sort of like the amount of attention and appreciation and like all of it for the women's race was just was amazing. And so just that feeling, obviously, of like accomplishment, right? Because you get money, you stand on a podium, there's lots of media there. Was something I'd never really experienced ever in cycling, and so it was pretty clear to me that that's the direction I wanted to go in. And then I had I had actually signed a contract with a professional road team for the following year. So I was committed to that, but I thought, okay, well, maybe I could do this on the side, like while I'm still doing this, because I had actually seen some other athletes that were doing that. But pretty early on, like the road team was like a very terrible experience. And so as a result of what happened with that team, which was Genevieve Johnson's team with the manager that had been doping her from when she was 16. And after, like, I complained to the UCI about him and everything was blamed on me, and then he refused to take me to races, I was kind of free to like race Xterra as much as I want, right, because he wouldn't take races. UCI contract.
I feel like there's a whole other, story there. A whole other story.
Yeah, it was sort of like, you don't know like why these things are happening at the time. But it was like the not making the Olympics, going to the road, like being good enough to be on the road, then going to Xterra, seeing this other option. But like, even at that time, I probably wouldn't have switched to Xterra as committed as I had been, because it, like, at the time, like, I didn't see it as the professional athlete opportunity because there wasn't that modeled for me yet. Right. And so I thought, okay, well, I've made it. I'm going to be on a road team. Like, this is going to be great. And it wasn't great. And so because of that, I was like, oh, F it. Here we go. Like, because when you're on a UCI contract, if they don't want to, if they don't release you, you can't race at all. So he was like trying to be vindictive and take my career away from me. And I just said, you keep it. I'm going to go be a triathlete. And honestly, like, that was the greatest thing that ever happened. to me.
Now,
He forced me to do my own thing.
was there a sense of belonging as well with Xterra? Because you mentioned there about and community as well, because you mentioned about the importance of having that equality for women in terms of the prize money and things like that, so away from the UCI fiasco that it sounds like it was, which I don't know much about, to be perfectly honest. But if you look back at what Xterra offered beyond the prize money and all of that, was there a sense of belonging and community there that and a sense of opportunity there as well, that maybe now you weren't getting it with the UCI, so this was going to be the path that was the salvation path for you, really?
Well, absolutely, because when I think what's lost on some athletes now is they don't recognize how empowering it is to like choose your own schedule, go to races that suit your strengths, pick a season that like will have you like perform well up to and including your A races, like stuff like that within the national team framework doesn't really exist. Like, these are the races the team's going to. Here's our best podium options. Here's the races we're doing to support our best podium options. You're part of that team. And so we're going to do all these road races because that's what we want for our top athletes, even though maybe you just started mountain biking and like a 5-day stage race is maybe too much for you. That was sort of like where I was at in the team, because I was, 10 years younger. The girls on the team were very good, and they were also very good road racers. So potentially like what they were doing just wasn't working for me, and I didn't have individual coaching. And so I just did the program, and it just never. So part of me not making the team was I wasn't good enough. But like when I look back at that and I look at what happened when I took over, picked my season, coached myself, I won races at Sea Otter, like when I was a triathlete, so things could have maybe been quite a bit different. And even after I had this opportunity and I was like making some money racing a triathlon and doing well at these mountain bike races, I did for a minute reconsider going back to mountain biking for the 2004 Olympics. And I went to the World Cups in the spring. And I'd be like at these World Cups with there was a different national team coach at that time. And I wasn't quite willing to like give up my Xterra stuff. So like everyone would come back from training on the course that day and I'd go for a run or do something like that. And the national team coach said something to me that was like so impactful. And I immediately went home and like just focused on triathlon. And he's like, you can't ride 2 horses with one ass. And I was like, even so, if we fast forward and the foreshadowing of him saying that to like 2012, when I had decided I wanted to race the Ironman stuff, and I was trying to race Ironman and Xterra at the same time. And I was like really frustrated with that season. I just remembered like at the end of the season, you can't ride 2 horses with one ass. And that's when I like essentially retired from Xterra. But I think that the Xterra gave me my entire like professional career, which would never have existed had they not invited me to start. The race director and the organization that created Xterra, they ran the Hawaii Mountain Tour, which was a stage race on mountain bikes that we went to as a national team. That's why they liked the Canadians, not just because we were at their race, but also because we were very fun. Like the Irish mountain biking is fun. Like the vibe is fun. And then they did the World Cup finals as well. So we went to Oahu a couple of times to race these events that they put on. And so going back and seeing them and doing these races was familiar because we knew them and we kind of knew like, we'd been to Hawaii to race. And then this whole idea of like the women being equal to the men, like that was their mandate right from the start. And I think triathlon in general was a newer sport than period. I think I'm not like, I'm very old, but I'm still not as old as like the beginning people that were in triathlon. But that mindset of like the equality between the men's and women's field, that exists because the sport itself is newer. Mm-hmm. And at that time, it just didn't make sense to have like this unequal prize purse or anything like that. Certainly at the beginning, like there were fewer women in the race. And so what Xterra would do is like the prize purse maybe didn't go as deep but like the prize that was there was equal to the mix,
Okay.
right? So maybe the men's might have went 8 deep and the women's went five. But what we saw is that the women's field got bigger, and it ended up being as big and in a lot of ways like as competitive as the men's field as a result of having like these opportunities, because more women were like, hey, like that's pretty awesome, we're gonna come in.
So talk me through the basics of Xterra, because I know a lot about triathlon and pure triathlon, Ironman 70.3 Sprint Olympic, but I don't have a clue about Xterra. So tell me, what is the difference between triathlon that we see in the Olympics or Ironman versus Xterra and I suppose the extreme side of the triathlon with the Xterra stuff?
Okay, so I would say Xterra is closest to ITU. Like the race itself and the challenge of it is very much like the ITU race. Now, the swim is the same. It's like a 1,500 meter swim. It's in a body of water, whether it's like, ocean, river, lake, whatever. In Xterra, what they always did is they tried to make it fun to watch. And so the swim was always 2 laps. So the athletes had to get out and do some kind of beach run in the middle of the swim course always. So that was kind of like a trademark of the Xterra swim. And then you get on the bike, and the bike was trails. It didn't mean that like it was always going to be trails or whatever, but because like they would use segments of road sometimes to connect to different trail networks. But ultimately they wanted the bike to take somewhere between 75 minutes and 2 hours for the best pro athletes. And so it was kind of like Olympic distance, but it would take longer. Drafting was allowed. Unfortunately, when you're going like 8 kilometers an hour, it's not a large effect. So it is allowed. And so there was like a lot of mixing in the field between the men's and the women's field because, it was a mass start event, right? So that was, everybody was kind of out there together. And so so they kind of said anywhere from like 30 odd K, but the distance was not set. It was more like trying to figure out how long this was going to take. And that would be.
Do you do it on mountain bikes?
The rules were mountain bikes. Yes. They actually said no drop bars, whatever. We actually had some like athletes experimenting on some of the less technical courses with different setups, but you had to have like a mountain bike flat bar on your bike.
Okay. And so then the run courses were they on trails as well?
The run would also be a trail run. Yeah. Of some, and like I said, like it wasn't strict, like it could only be on dirt. There was very often like sections of like road and stuff to connect to different trails. Not like some of the courses were like straight up and straight down. Like we did a lot of races that were at ski hills and ski resorts in the summer. So we had lots of like straight up, straight down. Some were flatter, rolling sort of. So the cool thing about the sport is like each venue offered an entirely different challenge. And for athletes racing it, like your first challenge was you against the course. Like you could almost like kind of like forget about your competition to start with, because you had to think about like how are you going to like maximize your own strengths against this course challenge, and then worry about like how you're going to deal with your competition after. So I actually like took a long time away from the sport and went back to the ITU Worlds in Penticton in 2017. And it had been a long time since I'd done like an Xterra race. And it was like my first race back after an injury. And I was like amazed at how, the sport really helps you to focus on your own thing, because you can't not, because like, especially when you're riding single track, you're like always trying to like scan what's coming up now and what's coming up next, and like how you're going to navigate everything as fast as you can. And so it's really cool from a focus perspective. Like you definitely, it's easy to find flow on those kind of races.
So before we move on, it's around a 1,500 meter swim. It could be like a 75-minute to like a 90-minute, 2-hour bike ride. What sort of time was the run?
So the run was approximately 10K. Okay. So the run would probably be anywhere sometimes they're 40 minutes, sometimes they're an hour. So, it's very terrain dependent.
Okay. So in terms of like training for an Olympic distance triathlon, is that the kind of mindset you would take for training with the Xterra as well, that whatever it kind of took you to do Olympic, but maybe a little bit of extra elevation thrown in for your bike and run training? Because I presume with mountain bikes and trail running, it's generally uphill and downhill.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's training for an Olympic distance race more from a strength component rather than a speed and leg speed component. Because like on the bike, there's a lot of mountain biking. It really requires a lot of like torque. And so like you definitely need to focus a lot on your strength for mountain biking. And same with running, like running uphill, you need a lot of leg speed to be very good at downhill, but you need strength and agility to run trails. So it is like more of a strength challenge than the pure speed of like an ITU style race. But you can see like the ITU athletes coming in have the skill that can mountain bike, generally have the right physiology, because mountain biking is very stochastic. It's like all like massive explosive and then rolling kind of under, and like it's over under all the time, which is the same as like an ITU style.
But is it the riding? So I'm not a mountain biker, but I do ride gravel bikes and I do TT bikes and regular racing bikes. But in terms of the skills that you need to be mountain biking versus racing in an Ironman 70.3 or an Olympic distance, what sort of skills do people need to bring to Xterra that they mightn't be bringing to an Ironman or to an Olympic distance race?
Oh, you definitely need to focus on the primary elements of mountain bike skill. So mountain biking is kind of like skiing. When you understand how to control your skis, you're a lot more comfortable, right? You don't get scared. When you know that you can stop, when you know that you can turn, and you know where your body should be on top of your skis, then, like it's a lot more enjoyable. Mountain biking's the same. And in Ironman, you don't really need a lot of skill. You just point your bike in a direction and like hope that you're comfortable for a really long time. That's like a gross exaggeration, but you could finish an Ironman without a lot of handling skills. With Xterra, it's different. Like there are skills that you need. Like you need to understand how your gears work, right? Like you need to understand how to shift. Have to understand how to anticipate shifting. You need to have understand what your body position is when you're relaxed and when you're ready, because like where your body is and where your center of mass is really affects your balance and control of your bike. So that's another primary skill to have. Understanding how your brakes work, like how your front brake works relative to your back brake. That is how you control your momentum, and how you manage your traction on your mountain bike. So that's another key skill. Cornering, like how to corner a bike and actually like use the tread on your tires, is a skill, right? And so all of these elements allow you to not only control your bike, but to like maintain your momentum in the trails. And that's really like, that's all like with swimming, you can be really fit as a swimmer, but have no skill, and like none of that fitness actually translates into like power in the water. And the same is the case mountain biking. Like if you have good skill, you maintain your momentum, you clear obstacles easily, and you actually save a lot of energy. And so that just adds like a whole other element. Like if you're a skilled rider, you're probably going to beat the fitter rider without skills.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten to the top of one of the climbs and looked over the other side and gone, oh, holy crap, how am I going to do this? Like, do you ever gotten scared because there's like this big downhill piece and it's like gnarly and I don't know, like just, do you ever get scared when you're on the bike for any of those pieces of the descents?
Well, I came from mountain biking, so most of the Xterra courses they're not super. So like I think that there's people think that Xterra is more technical than it is, and it's. I mean, I'm not going to understate that there is challenge to mountain biking, but in Xterra in particular, they want triathletes to do the sport. So it's not the same as like the Red Bull Rampage. Okay. So like there's nothing like that at all anywhere in any Xterra race. Like it's generally natural features. Maybe they have like little rolls that are like tiny little drops or whatever, but they're not trying to hurt anybody. It's not super technical. So like in general, like the most technical course we ever had that I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be challenging, was one year we had like an amazing race at Whistler. And it was like legit BC single track with like big log drops and like a trail called A River Runs Through It, which was like some built features. And I loved it because I actually had the skills to ride that. I think I almost beat Conrad in that race because he did not like know what to expect going to Whistler. But that was the most technical race ever in the history of Xterra that I rode.
If we have,
so that does not generally exist.
But if we have, say, a triathlete that's listening in to this show now and they're thinking, oh, that sounds like it could be right up my alley. What should we look for in an Xterra race if we're starting out? You know, what should we be looking for to play to our strengths? So if we're an average swimmer, we're an average bike handler, and we're a good runner, you know, what do you look for in a type of an Xterra race to go for?
I think
any of them. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like the magic of Xterra is every single race is a little bit different. I don't think any of the races are super duper technical anyways. So if you're an average mountain biker, yeah, there's going to be races that are slightly more technical or like you're a little bit less comfortable on because some of the terrain isn't like what you ride at home. But that's kind of what is so good about Xterra is that each race venue offers a different challenge in terms of like what the topography and the trails are like. And you're going to get better just by having that experience and going to those races. So certainly, I mean, asking other people that have done the course, like what the dirt's like, what the best tire setup's going to be to like kind of make it as manageable as you can. And then like just ride within your own control. And, you know, there's just that much more sort of personal satisfaction in doing that race course. If it is a little bit outside of your comfort zone, the worst that happens is you walk down a section.
Yeah.
Right. Who cares? Just get off your bike, walk down the section and like ride away. Right. So like, there's no rules that say you can't get off your bike for something. So just do it.
And just like in a triathlon, if you, the first time you do it, no matter what your finish time is, it's always a personal best, you know?
So. Exactly. And that's the other, I think I am still like mystified by some age group athletes, like obsession with what their splits are in races, because even in Ironman, like those splits are so arbitrary. Like they make like, one course does not compare to the next. And like they definitely do not wheel these courses, like to figure out like the distance. So like world records and splits and whatever are so dumb, right? I think it's interesting to see how fast like some of the pros are going. And I think that that's valid in terms of like overall, like how fast they're covering this distance. But to constantly be trying to make your own splits faster to the point where you're just trying to find a course with a downriver swim, a bike course that was cut 5 miles short, and a run that's all downhill. You know, that doesn't have a lot of like value.
No, I don't think so.
No. When you come from Xterra, it has no value, like at all. Like how fast, like Worlds would be like 3 hours, Richmond would be like 2 hours. Like it did mean you were better at like your splits are only relative to the rest of the field. And I think that's a much better way of looking at it. Like, okay, where was I? And like, did I lose time in the single track? Were people passing me? That indicates that you're like traveling slower through the trails. You need to work on that. Did you pass people on the run? Your trail running was good. Like that kind of thing is a lot more like relevant.
The only caveat to that would be that if you kept going back to the same race course as a triathlete.
But not even. It could rain.
It could rain. It could be really hot. It could be really windy. You know, it doesn't really matter. So then this actually brings me into the next question for you with regards to your own approach to racing. So, you know, has your approach changed over the past 20 years in terms of, you know, racing in your 30s versus racing in your 50s? How have you adapted your own racing tactics and approach to races over the years?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. It's hard to answer because, you know, in my 30s, I raced Xterra. And so like then my focus was on explosive power, being able to recover quickly. But mostly it was about that ceiling. And so I was sort of less focused on what my threshold was. And certainly during that time, I didn't really know or care what my functional threshold power was at all. And I'm sure it was lower than it is right now. And then I went over to Ironman in like 2012. And that low threshold, but high capacity really like hurt me for flat races, right? Because I just needed, you trade off your threshold in order to have that anaerobic capacity. And so it took a long time for me to like figure out what the right mix was, because I went in like Lake Stevens, which is like a course like this, right? Obviously. And then I went to like, I forget what races, like maybe Muncie. I mean, that was also very hot, but like something really flat, and like tiny girls that I would outride by 10 minutes on another course would ride away from me. So I was like, wow, I need to figure this out. So my training changed in order to like, because Ironman just sort of mostly moves towards these flatter courses. Like that just tends to be like what the race course looks like. So having a very high threshold is super important. And it also helps you to run a bit faster, to have that quality. And so addressing that was certainly something that I had to focus on, that now we're talking about in my 40s. And then beyond that, the way that I would run, even at that time, I didn't spend enough time working on my mechanics. And like I had to really focus on my mechanics because I had a pretty catastrophic ankle injury, and that sort of precipitated, this focus and also just the education in order to be able to do it by myself, because I didn't really have a team to help me figure it out. I had to do it. And I think that that's a big part of what I'm doing now, is making sure that I run mechanically efficient, because if you don't run mechanically efficient, you really can't absorb the ramifications of that when you're older. Like you just can't be consistent.
No. And
so I'd say that was the change. So it went from like full send explosive power, just like when I was a mountain biker, for everything. And then it became like a threshold focus in order to like be better at flatter courses. But part of like halfway through that, like mid 40s, when I was injured and coming back from that, and then also moving to Ironman, full Ironman, it became a lot more about form, elasticity, and mechanics. And if anything, like in my 50s, I make sure that I do blocks that look a lot more like when I was in my 30s in order to have the power, because I don't need a lot of aerobic training anymore.
And what about mental training and mindset and resilience and things like that? The importance of that as well, especially in making that switch across to Ironman, towards the end of your time with Xterra in that short period there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. When I raced, like during the peak of my Xterra career, a lot of my mindset was like pro athlete, win races, get sponsors, get titles, like be the best at the sport. I didn't appreciate as much like how cool I appreciated it in that I was in it, but I didn't recognize how much I should appreciate like the opportunity, the people, the vibe, the time that was Xterra at that time, because I'm sure for that full 10 years, I just thought it would go on forever. Right. So I just didn't really appreciate it. And then when I think it was like in 2011, I had a great season up to when I passed out at Worlds. And then when I like kind of decided, okay, that's enough for Xterra, it had kind of broken my heart for the last time, and I wanted to do the Ironman stuff. Like I was trying to like approach Ironman the same way, but Ironman didn't have the same after race sort of get together vibe of Xterra. And I think just it was a lot more lonely than then Xterra, like I felt like when I was doing that, I was traveling around with all my friends as part of this circus. And then when I did Ironman, it was a bigger scene and there was like, big athletes and I wasn't the best at it and it was intimidating. And I think this whole mindset that I had early on of like, I have to win things. Like I won Oceanside in 2012 and that sort of fed that, okay, I have to perform, I have to get a title. But then when I wasn't continuously winning that year, it was like mentally I was in the dumper, right? Because like I had a lot to learn in Ironman when I first switched over, like especially in 70.3. And so I had a few years where it was like, I was going to turn 40. I wasn't winning every race I entered. The competition was stiff and my head was not in the right place, like about turning 40 or about like just spending some time learning what I was doing. I had to perform really fast. And so I'd say like for my first few years, it was not good, like from that perspective. And then when I got, I had in 2014, after I had finally turned 40 and got that over with and had a great season. And then I decided to go to Ironman. It being this really old athlete at the time when nobody else was old, and I was only 42 at the time, kind of gave me this chance to, sort of just get out of that I have to win everything and more to say, hey, I think I personally am going to get faster. I may never be fast enough to win this stuff now, but I could probably show you guys that there's you don't have to make such a big deal out of me being 40. I think I got a little bit upset when I upset inside. In 2015, when I went to my first Ironman, I was 42. I just in 2014, I won a whole bunch of 70.3s. I won a 5150. I was I had a kick-ass season. And I was going to my first Ironman, and instead of them going, oh, hey, this is going to be great. You're going to be so strong at this. And we can't wait to see what you can do. It was all okay, so you're 42. And at the time it was it's in everybody's ears is they might have well been saying you're 60. That's what it was like in 2015. Nobody remembers this, but back then, you were an ancient dinosaur and you need to be retired immediately back then. And so everything was just about how old I was. And it just gave, it kind of maybe I just needed that little chip on my shoulder about being chippy, about being old and not thinking I was old. But that sort of gave me that fire again. Maybe I'm not going to win these races, but I'm definitely going to outperform these expectations. And so that sort of got me going again in 2015. And I started to get my groove back a little bit. And then I got injured in 2016. And that injury took me a solid 3 years to get over in order to come back to Ironman. And that at that point I was already I was sort of being retired for being old, and then I was being retired for being injured. So that sort of ended the time of my life where I was solely a full-time professional athlete. And I thought a lot about just retiring and just being okay, that's enough. And I rebuilt the coaching program that I had. It was small already, but then I just rebuilt that. And then I just sort of was getting better, and I could run again. And I just figured I didn't want to retire in an injury. That's kind of a crappy way to finish. I think I really enjoy seeing athletes retire on the terms that they've set out. Right. And retire is so dumb from this because what we're doing is a whole lot of exercising, and nobody's ever really going to stop all this crazy exercising. So retiring is to the same thing, just not traveling to races. That's probably what retirement's going to mean. But I was okay, I think I want to just see if I could come back from this injury. And so that became there's the before the injury mindset, which was performance, titles, times, outcomes. And then after that, it became, okay, what are my opportunities? How much better can this be? how do these interventions work? What are my experiences now, like with aging and perimenopause? Because at that point, I did get older in those next 3 years. And then then my mind just became like, what are the experiences that I'm going to be able to have as a result of continuing this journey? Like, now years and years and years past what I would have ever imagined had been the end date of it. And that mindset became like incredibly freeing. And my performances started getting like way, way better. Because then all this self-imposed pressure that is completely unnecessary evaporated. And almost like that freedom that I first had when I switched to Xterra, I could do whatever the hell I wanted.
Yeah.
Then it came back.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was it about shifting the definition of what success meant to you at that time as well, I think. And with that comes an awful lot of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Like I think now, like, I'm personally from an Ironman perspective, I actually am not getting slower. Like I actually set my fastest marathon at 50 years old. But whether that was happening or not, there's like just seeing what you can do and just the satisfaction of like accomplishing those things, or just like I said, like just like it's the same experiments that I've always done. Like I want to be better at this thing, and so I'm going to try these things and see if it works. Like that to me is so I'm probably going to do that until I'm 90 years old.
Hate indoor training? We have great news. We have partnered with Wahoo to offer you a special deal on the Wahoo Kicker Run, a treadmill that will convert even the most diehard treadmill haters. Wahoo, the same company that revolutionized indoor cycling training, has literally broken the treadmill mold with this machine. With its special run-free mode, you can just hop on it and run. It naturally adjusts the pace as you do, just like you would outdoors. Speed up, slow down, it moves with you as you do. It can also simulate the terrain by subtly tilting the angle from side to side, so again you feel like you're really running, not locked into an unnatural pace or place. Or you can lock it in or even program workouts, so it does put you through your training paces, including both inclines and declines. And it's stunningly quiet, even when you're humming along full tilt. Even if you love training outdoors, the Kicker Run is a game changer for year-round training. No more trying to navigate ice-covered roads, awful weather, or worrying about going out in the dark. We love it, and we think you will too, so check it out. Click the link in the show notes and use the code FEISTY, all caps, one word, FEISTY, to get a free Headwind Smart Fan valued at $300 with the purchase of a Wahoo Kicker Run. That's code FEISTY to get a free fan when you purchase a Wahoo Kicker Run. We will drop a link in the show notes to make it a snap. And right now, Wahoo is running a massive sale of 25% off the Wahoo Kicker Run. So click that link and get yours today.
You had a great year in 2023. I was just in doing a little bit of research today. You know, the second place at Ironman Maryland, third place in Coeur d'Alene, and then obviously coming to Kona. You know, you were a rookie pro at the age of 50 in Kona in 2023. I mean, what was that like? What was that whole experience like? Did it live up to expectations?
I think, yeah. A lot of people just didn't know that was my first time ever to Kona. Like I had never gone as an age group or whatever. So a lot of people just couldn't believe that I'd never experienced, I'd never even watched it. And so, and that's just a result of the fact that when I was racing Xterra, I was having so much fun and was so satisfied with my career. Ironman was never on the radar. And like Ironman Kona for me, even when I was racing Ironman, just didn't seem like it was really going to make a lot of sense because like it just seemed a little too hot for this Canadian. So I kind of never really thought that I wanted to go, and I never made it part of my schedule or even trying to qualify. And then I don't know, I guess I woke up at some point realizing that I was going to turn 50 and was like, okay, well, what am I going to do for my 50th birthday? And I decided it was going to be Kona qualification.
As you do.
Yeah. Why not? There's only like a couple of things that I hadn't done. Like I'd been to like mountain bike worlds, I'd been to road worlds, Xterra worlds, 70.3 worlds. I had to go to Ironman worlds at least once. So I decided to tick that box.
And how was the whole experience? Did you enjoy it?
So I went as one of the, it was a year where it was all women. And I just thought like the context of it, like understanding like what race week is like, what Elite Drive is like actually seeing how hilly the run course, going and actually riding the bike course, experiencing like the weather and all the rest of it was, I think it was most valuable for me as a coach because I coach a lot of athletes that have that race in mind, and that intimate experience with the course is amazing. I did race with COVID, so it wasn't the most amazing experience from a physical perspective. But I did race Maryland like 4 weeks before that. So I set myself up for that like not very well. I decided to get a little greedy with the number of Ironmans in the season. No regrets, Maryland went very well, but I think that like understanding like for that race with how much like emotional investment there is in that race, I think like you're never going to have a good race there unless you're fresh as a daisy. So that's another good thing to know as a coach.
So that's what I was going to ask you. The women are racing in Kona. This year, the boys are in Nice, the women are in Kona. So what advice would you give to any of our listeners who maybe have qualified for their own very first World Championship in Kona in October of this year?
Yeah, I think so. I would say make sure your heat preparation is done in advance. I don't think like last minute heat prep, just being on the island is going to work out that great. It is really humid and it's pretty exhausting if you can't even absorb the first few days. So an early heat adaptation protocol, even if it's just all passive heat, will help a lot with your like last minute stuff there. Definitely like when you do get there, don't test yourself. Like don't do anything hard. Like don't get your heart rate up. Don't get caught up in like getting your splits on any part of the course because you can die early. Do swim the swim course. I think they let you swim out there. And I think that knowing landmarks that are not just the buoys, but are on land will help you a lot in like knowing where you are in the swim from like where, like looking to the side, but also what to sight off if the chop gets a little high coming back in. I think that's really valuable. And as much as you can, like just try to soak up the vibe, like within reason. Like don't spend all day on your feet walking around the expo and being outside and eating it all. But like go to the restaurants and like go to the race expo and like just sort of get your picture in all these places. And like just it is sort of like it's an icon of triathlon and you'll appreciate it for sure after the fact. And do try to get tickets to your family and friends to the Thank God I'm Not Racing party because it'll make your Sherpas very happy.
Absolutely. And they won't have too much pressure on the day after either. And that's the Bob Babber Thank God I'm Not Racing party that usually takes place in Huggos. And none of us can go because we all have to go to bed to be up at like
exactly
morning. I want to ask you, Mel, what do you wish more female age groupers understood about training and performance and racing? Is there one thing you'd like us to all consider more when we're racing and training?
I'd say that, like, by and large, most women underestimate what they can do. Like they tend to like not see the kind of potential that they could have. Like they're too modest with their own expectations of themselves. They can be really hard on themselves within like the context of what they're doing right now, but they actually don't see how amazing they could be and they don't dream big enough. And so I think to a certain extent, they limit themselves by not actually seeing themselves as good as they can be. So I'd say having either someone you trust or having a great coach tell you, okay, like here is the roadmap for you to get this good. I think would allow them to like sort of like spread their wings a little more and go a lot faster than they're going right now. A lot of athletes don't push themselves very hard, like really don't. And just because they're afraid to find out that they're not that good, and I think it's better to like give it a go and see how good you can be, because you won't be just disappointed in getting a lot better, even if you're not the best, right? So I think some athletes that aren't going to be the very best are afraid to even try to be good.
And I think as well, I'm heading into I think I'm 47 on Wednesday. I think I'm 40.
Okay. Happy upcoming birthday.
I have to work it out. Still think I'm 21, but you're redefining what's possible, for women over 40 in endurance sport. So what advice would you give to the likes of me, or to women who are a little bit older than me, who are trying to balance our ambitions in sport with our ever changing challenges that are the female body?
So let's just bring it down to like correlation and causation. Okay. So, aging is not causation of decreased performance. Like that is like just like time passing is not detrimental to performance. In fact, sometimes time passing and an injury resolving itself, better circumstances in your life, more time to train, all of that is like causation of better performance. Whereas like too many athletes just think, okay, age, causation, slowing down, right? And it's that mindset that is self-limiting right there. So correlation or aging, I'd say from where I'm standing and in my experience working with athletes that want to experience high performance later in life, aging is correlated with compounding injuries that have not been rehabilitated properly. So biomechanics and mechanical compensations in the body, because you didn't rehab that ankle sprain, you worked around a hip niggle forever and just ignored it. You can't reach your arms overhead and you've not done anything about it and wonder why you can't swim, right? Like all of those things they happen more frequently because you've spent more time on Earth and you've had the opportunity to ignore these things for longer. Right?
Just ticking off the list here, going, I can't do that. I can't do that. I have an injury.
No, yeah, but I like some of this is just like, no, I'm not like trying to throw all the physiotherapists under the bus, but they're trained just to make pain stop and people sit at their desk at work. They're not trained to send athletes out to perform. And so, as a coach, I'm trying to like pick up the slack as physiotherapists start to like, instead of regressing exercises back to like the minimal effective, function, for physiotherapists to actually bring back actual athletic performance. I do that. Like I try to get athletes to be able to like perform at a proper level. So that's number one, is that, the injury pile up that creates mechanical dysfunction. That's one thing that does make you slow down. Two is what I said, deciding for yourself that you're older and therefore you can't imagine yourself fast. Like that is also self-limiting, because you're right. Like if you don't think you can be fast, then you're probably right. And then also like athletes like stop. I think particularly in Ironman, like there can be an overemphasis on the distance and not enough on like other. So training can become quite stagnant, where it's just all about like covering distance versus like being able to go fast, and having like the qualities that allow you to go fast actually sort of vaccinate you against the repetitive motion of like longer endurance training. So having a program that's properly progressive and allows you to build out the biggest skill set you can will allow you to be a lot more consistent. And it's that consistency that allows you to train more. So again, like it's not how old you are, it's just how consistent you are. And your consistency is largely determined by, your functional abilities. So those injuries, the quality of your program, and then your desire to train, which goes back to like, if you don't think you can be fast, you're not going to try very hard. So I'd say those are the top three things that basically, like if you kind of wrap your head around that as like, okay, how fast could I be if I didn't feel pain and I was super motivated and believed I could be fast and had a great program? Like pretty freaking fast is like, you can see a lot of people are going really fast.
They certainly are. If you were to try out one sport away from everything you've done before, what would it be?
Oh, geez. Cross-country ski racing.
Oh, wow. Interesting. We're nearly at the end of this now, so just have a couple more questions for you. So one of the questions I want to ask you was, of all of your world titles, of which you hold multiple across a variety of sports, which one means the most to you and why?
Okay, it was a toss-up. So like the first time I won Xterra Worlds was like, you know, I felt like I had kind of made it as a professional athlete. So that was meaningful. I think probably like in 2011, the ITU came up with the Cross Triathlon Worlds, and that was like a first timer thing. And I had like some significant adversity going into that race, but I managed to win the first one of those, and I think that probably like, you know, because ITU was everything, and so I think probably that first ITU Worlds in Spain. With all that went on that week, that's probably one of my more memorable world experiences.
Brilliant. And then my final question is, what does this season look like for you now? Are you racing? Have you any big goals set? What's the plan? Even though like we're kind of halfway through the season already.
Yeah, we really are. Yeah. So I managed to get like at the end of 2023, I had this problem with my saddle that was creating some issues at my sit bone. And I managed to like sort of band-aid it like we do, like going back to this biomechanics thing, for that whole season, to the point where at Worlds, I was like kind of sitting on half my saddle. And so all of 2024 was largely around like trying to rehab that injury while still racing. Not very effectively. I really couldn't run by the end of the year last year. And so this year I started back, couple steps forward and couple steps backwards. And I think I'm finally on top of that now. So, I'm just going to wait and like try to put together the best fall Ironman campaign that I can. So I'm going to race, Chattanooga and probably West Australia, this fall. And just see like if there's a faster marathon in me yet to come.
Wow. I look forward to seeing the results of that.
We'll see. Yeah, it's been a good year. I did spend a lot of the year coming up with some new stuff to help athletes with a lot of this, like you know, the biomechanics of training. And so I sort of poured a lot more energy into my own squad. And took a little step back from my own racing. And I'm definitely at that point where I have to decide if, you know, if it's a better time for me to focus more on like being Melanie the coach, or whether there's still a little bit of room left in that experiment to continue it for a few more years. I'd like to like to see how far I could go. So I think I'll probably get to an Ironman at 52 as a pro. TBD if it's 53 as a pro.
Well, what we'll say is watch this space. And a huge thank you to you for joining us on the show this evening, Melanie McQuaid. Thank you so much.